He's had incredible success in YouTube, developed an entire business around this strategy.
And especially at that time, I was looked at a little bit crazy, like, okay, what are you doing? That's not the traditional way to do real estate. So it was really me against, myself, just trying to figure it out and seeing if something can come from it.
That could be a little bit terrifying. Like, here, this is the way to do it. And then you're going off on a completely different path, and you got to become the person who deserves it. I was doing the work, but I was like, but I don't know if I actually deserve it.
The universe is going to give you what you feel you deserve. Not exactly what you're thinking, but who you are being. I was making a lot of bad decisions, music festivals, drugs, alcohol, the whole 9 yards, right? I saw my future. Like, it was like God showed me, like, hey, if you continue with these actions, this is where you'll be. And I still didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't even finish the podcast. I just went. I want to help the people on the team unlock their highest powers. If they don't, they typically trickle away from the team naturally.
Welcome to The It Show, where leaders rise, where the bold challenge everything, and big ideas take flight. Because the most dangerous thing to be in the world today is an independent thinker. And today, I'm so excited because, as always, I have my guest, my co-host with me, Edelio Sanchez. How you doing, Edelio?
Good to see you, Will. I'm so excited to be here. Really glad that we have the person that we have today. Renzo Montaiuti. He's had incredible success in YouTube. He's one of the first people in my real estate office to go headfirst into it and really develop an entire business around this strategy. He's gotten into a completely different side of YouTube now and content creation as well, but really excited to pick his brain today. Today we have Renzo Montaiuti. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you, brother. Where do you want to go with Renzo? Like, how do you want to start?
Well, I think first off, you mentioned that he was one of the first people that you know personally to kind of dive into YouTube and
At the office, yeah.
And do some pretty remarkable things. I think right now, how long have you been doing YouTube? So we'll start there.
I started real estate about 5 years ago, February of 2020, and I started YouTube probably a year after that. So I'd give it a full 4 years of doing YouTube videos. Yeah.
Okay. And is your business based predominantly on social media, like where you're getting most of your leads and things of that nature?
Yeah. I'd say 90 to 95% of all of our business comes from social media.
Wow. Yeah. Is that all organic, or is that like paid ads?
All organic, never paid ads. I don't think I paid one ad. Maybe when I started out 4 years ago, I was trying to get a couple of views and seeing if it worked, but it really didn't. Since then, I learned that the organic way is the best way to go. And since then, it's been 100% organic traffic.
Oh, wow. So I know this year you've done some pretty incredible things, especially being all organic and just on social media. This year so far, what kind of growth have you seen in terms of sales and lead flow, things of that nature?
Yeah, so I'd say, I'll start off like 2 years ago is when my English channel started to blow up, because I was doing YouTube for a while, but it wasn't always going great, right? I had my first 2 years, it was more of a situation where I was just trying to put videos on YouTube. No one was doing it. It was before it was cool. It was before it was a really big thing in the real estate industry. So I was just going with my phone, shooting at 1080p with a little mic and just doing little B-roll clips, and that's it. And putting it together, I learned how to edit on my own. But it took me, I'd say, 2 years of doing that. And then I did some Spanish videos, and I didn't even speak Spanish at the time. So it was kind of me learning and figuring out, okay, there's a Spanish market. I saw a buddy of mine, Renzo, who was doing it, and it worked, and he was getting leads and deals. And then I was like, okay, this is wide open. Let me join him in this Spanish venture of doing YouTube in Spanish, but I didn't even really speak Spanish. So in that time, I was learning Spanish, also trying to tap into this market. I closed maybe 3-4 deals. And then after a while, I'm like, why am I not doing this in English? So I transitioned to English, and then from there, 2 years ago, it started blowing up and started getting leads right away. And that's when I started building an actual real estate business, I'd say.
That's awesome. In the beginning, I want to kind of get into your mentality from the start. Yeah. Before we get into like the sauce.
Yeah.
When you had this idea of like getting into YouTube, what kind of mentality did you have to go against like the grain of like doing open houses, cold calling, doing all the classic things that we're always trained on? What kind of drove you to be like, I kind of want to focus on this, like start to YouTube? Because it's a little bit against the grain.
Yeah.
A lot against the grain.
100%. And especially at that time, I was looked at a little bit crazy. Like, okay, what are you doing? That's not the traditional way to do real estate. It's probably not going to work. And the results you've gotten so far shows that it's not going to work. So it was really me against, myself, just trying to figure it out and seeing if something can come from it. And I just had like this belief that I had to do something different. I tried cold calling, I just couldn't get a hold of it. I tried door knocking, couldn't get a hold of it. I bought Zillow leads. I bought HomeSnap leads, probably the worst leads you can buy. And then, I really did it all. Open houses do work, but I was only getting to a certain point in my business doing open houses. So the mentality or just the thought process behind it was more so, I know there's more out there. It was kind of more of blind faith rather than me already seeing, okay, I had no idea I would be where I am today. It was kind of more of a blind faith that I have to do something different. And, I made a promise to myself a while back that I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to figure it out. Right. So I'd say that's the biggest thing from there. Yeah.
That could be a little bit terrifying too, when everybody, especially people that who are having success and, kind of like, here, this is the way to do it. And then you're going off on a completely different path. And did you have anybody kind of mentor you to show you how to do it? Or was it literally just you versus you? You have to figure it out while everyone else around you is like, I don't know. I can't help you because I don't know how to do that.
That's pretty much it. No one really could help me figure out what no one else was doing. Right. Maybe there was, I think like Ken Pozak was getting big at the time and he was doing it, but I wasn't in his office. He's busy. I'm not going to reach out to someone who's like, hey, so it was one of those things where, yeah, I figured it out. I learned how to edit on my own. I learned how to record on my own. I got over the fear of the camera on my own. So like, it was really just trial and error and then over periods of time, you make a lot of mistakes, you learn from it, and then you gain wisdom. Yeah.
So you mentioned when you first started, you started shooting 1080p, just kind of doing B-roll. Would you say, like, when you're just starting out, for a lot of people who want to grow on YouTube, whether it's grow a real estate business, just grow a following or what have you, would you say it's still better to do that than it is to do nothing at all?
100%. 100%. One of the biggest things I teach to my team specifically is like, we always need to be doing dollar productive activities. If we're not with clients, if we're not training, we should be doing content for our business. Now, in the beginning, everybody wants it to be the perfect thing and everybody wants thousands of views right away. But realistically, you got to become that person who deserves it in a way. You got to get over the fear of the camera. You got to start understanding how to, do a couple clips. So yeah, 100%. If there are any agents out there and you're just starting out, you should be just getting the reps in. And then once you feel comfortable, like, okay, hey, I can do this. I can get to this level of content consistently. That's where you start building on top of it. So that's what I would recommend for someone.
You said something really good there.
Yeah.
You said you got to become the person who deserves it.
Yeah.
I had things in my life where I felt like I was doing the work, but internally there was conflict where I was doing the work, but I was like, but I don't know, like, if I actually deserve it. That kind of imposter syndrome, as some people would call it. And what's really interesting is, do you believe in manifestation?
100%.
Oh, man. Then I want to hear your thoughts on this, because what I found for myself was there was a long period of time where there was just kind of like almost no results.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, but I'm working harder than everyone that I know. Like in my office at that point in time, I was the first one there. I was the last one to leave. But I wasn't getting any of those results. And then after a certain point, I was like, fuck this. I should be getting the results. Like I should be more bold with how I'm acting, because I know I'm working harder than all of you guys. You guys are all currently outproducing me, but I'm working way harder than you and I deserve it. And once I believed I deserved it, things just kind of started happening, which was like, you're getting calls from people that you would have never expected, just kind of out of left field. They weren't leads that I was buying. It was just like, hey, I thought of you. You spoke to me 3 months ago, and all of a sudden now I'm calling you. I want to buy. And it's like, how did this even happen? I don't remember the conversation. Is that something that kind of happens with you?
Yeah. I do a lot of manifestation, and I think, when, well, first of all, that's great that you had that realization, because a lot of people might get to that frustration breeds frustration, right? So the more frustrated you are, you're just going to breed more of it unless you just change your energy and start looking from a different perspective. You have to be able to think greater than you feel. So you getting to that point of, okay, hey, I've been putting in the work. I deserve more than the results I'm getting. You're sending out a different electromagnetic signature, and I'll talk about that later, into the field that you're drawing more things to you, right? We all have, I don't want to we'll talk about that in a bit, but
dive in, get into it.
Go ahead first.
But yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying, 100%. The universe is going to give you what you feel you deserve, not exactly what you're thinking, but the way who you are being, I'd say. So like, yeah, you got to feel like the person who already has received that.
That's good. So what is your process to be able to do that?
Like manifest?
Yeah, well, you said you got to think better than you feel.
Yeah.
Which can be really hard when you're in a tough place.
Yeah.
So what is your process to be able to, I guess, manufacture the thoughts so that you can then feel better?
Yeah. I think the first thing is it takes a certain level of awareness to understand maybe you're in a state of mind or a state of being that isn't aligned with where you want to be or where you want to go. I'd say a lot of the Western world lives in a survival state of mind or survival state of being, where you're constantly stressed out, you're being triggered by the same people, you're drinking the same coffee, you're doing the same things on a daily basis, and you're triggering a survival response in your adrenal glands and everything. Like your whole body feels like it's in survival mode just by your external environment that we've consciously almost or subconsciously created for ourselves. So, or you could be living in a state of creation. A state of creation is when your body's in homeostasis and you're not being run by your body. Your body is being run by your mind, your conscious mind. So what was the question again?
What is your process to be able to, I guess?
Okay, so first, I want to be in a state of creation, right? I want to feel like I'm level-headed and I'm not being run by maybe a desire or a negative feeling or a negative emotion, or if someone triggers me, I'm not going to let that control my internal state. Or I don't want to, if I am in a lower state, I got to get myself back to a state of homeostasis where I can think clearly and really just be conscious about what I'm doing. So the first thing is just rather than being in survival, I want to be in a state of creation, right? Once I'm in a state of creation, that's where, things are flowing. Right now I'd say we're all in a state of creation. We feel good. We had a good morning. Nothing's really brought us down, and nothing's affecting our internal state, right? But to get to that, most people, when they wake up, what do? We check our phone. Boom. That's one thing that's going to just signal your whole entire body to go into survival mode. And then what do? We go into the shower, do the same thing. We go drink our coffee the same way. We drive to work. And while we're driving to work, we're thinking about that coworker that we hate. And we're thinking about things that aren't even true and they're affecting our internal state. So I'd say the biggest thing, get out of survival, get into a state of creation. And there's a whole process to that. You can meditate, you can do breath work. But I'd say that's the biggest thing. Get into a state of creation.
Tony Robbins talks about this. I don't know if you follow Tony, but he talks about when you do change your state, that allows you to change your story.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. The story that you tell yourself every single day. Once you change that story, then you can change the strategy through which you attack everything during the day, your week, your year, your decade.
Yeah.
So in terms of changing your state physically, what are some of the, practices that you have on a daily basis that you're always you're in your Rolodex of things that you cannot miss every single day? What are you doing?
So for sure, meditation for me is I just want to repeat who I'm going to be in my mind before I actually go through my day, right? So in the mornings, I need to meditate, and in the evenings, I need to meditate. And one, you got to be very clear about who you want to be throughout your day. What are the things that could trigger you? How do you want to react to that? How do you want to show up on a daily basis? So I'd say the one thing I don't miss is meditation anymore. And to tell you the bottom line is, I found a magnificent man called Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but I I've been learning all of this information. Since last September, I went to his first week-long advanced retreat, and that changed my life. And since then, I've been to like four of his events within a year, and I'm going to 3 more, in the next couple months. And I'd say that he teaches the science of change. So that's where I've learned a lot of this information, and I've been able to apply it into my life, and I see immediate results in less than, so I'd say that's where I've been learning this information from.
You said the first one you went to was in September, is when you kind of discovered him.
Yes.
Is that safe to say? And that was not even a year ago.
Yeah.
At the time of this recording, what it was today, May 16th?
Yeah.
May 16th. So what is that, 8-9 months, something like that?
Yeah, just shy. That's crazy.
So what kind of transformation have you seen, measurable transformation have you seen since attending that event?
I'd say my state of being, like most days I can be living in a state of creation without anything external affecting me. So like maybe before, my parents can bother me or make me feel, a certain way, or my enemies, let's say, they used to bother me and affect my internal state, and then I'm thinking about it and I'm being run by those emotions throughout the whole entire day, right? I'd say now, only I can affect my internal state, right? Now there are moments where life gets in the way, right? I miss a couple meditations and then and yeah, but I'd say that's the biggest thing. And another big thing is he teaches, our body is just our body and mind are the record of the past, right? So like all the emotions we felt growing up, the way we were raised, the way we grew up, the experiences we had as children, all of those all those events have created literal kind of echoes throughout our body, and our body's almost maybe been conditioned and addicted to those specific emotions or feelings, right? So as we get older, they always say, what is it, like when you're from 0 to 6 years old, that's when your life is decided who you're going to be, right? The way you're going to feel, the way you're going to think, the way you're going to act, your personality is set, right? And your body has been programmed to those set of emotions, feelings, thoughts. And then as you get older, you find things that, essentially are going to just attract more of that and reinforce that. And that's where people find their personal reality, right? Their personality created that specific personal reality. That's what Joe Dispenza teaches. And then he teaches, okay, we just got to change our personality to change our personal reality. And that's where manifestation comes from. You got to change internally before your external world changes. So I'd say in the past 8 months, I had that grand awakening. I understood it. And honestly, I've had, 5 years ago is when I made a decision I was going to change my life. I was in college. I was making a lot of bad decisions, music festivals, doing things associated with going to music festivals, drugs, alcohol, the whole 9 yards, right? I wasn't graduating college on time, and I had like this day where I was high as a kite, just being real. I went into my room and I saw my future. Like it was like God showed me like, hey, if you continue with these actions, this is where you'll be. And it was me on the streets asking people for money to do drugs. Like that was just, it was one of those moments that you just don't forget. And then I was like, okay, Tony Robbins, I saw like this reel. Can't tell you when, a long, long time ago. And in that moment, when I saw my future, I'm getting like my whole body's lighting up right now. But when I was in that moment, essentially that video played in my mind. Not that I was watching it, but it literally played in my mind like that. And it said, when a human is backed up against a corner and you have to choose life or death, they're always going to fight. They're always going to choose life. And in that moment, I said, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't care how long it takes, but I'm not going to quit. I know I have a better future for myself. And that was early 2020, maybe, no, I'd say 2019. And in that moment, I said, I didn't know anything. I had so much anxiety and depression, the whole thing, right? Couldn't look at people in the eye. I was scared to leave my house, panic attacks. And I said, okay, in order to get confident, in order to feel good, I just got to get in shape. I see people who are in good shape physically. They get all the girls, you know, they look good, they're confident, they're this. So I'm like, oh, that's the answer, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to get in the gym. And I just had to become obsessed with going to the gym. And at the first 3 months, I just walked in, maybe went to the cardio section, but I had so much anxiety I couldn't even work out. I was scared people were looking at me or judging me because I could only put 25-pound plates on my bench, or I could only put, you know, do 135 squat, right? I was just constantly thinking people were judging me, like, look at that kid, whatever. I was broke, everything. But I just built that discipline and I fell in love with working out.
Yeah.
And then from there, I thought I had it figured out. But I'd say the past 5-6 years, I've always been looking for the answer. How is my life going to change? How do I change my life? I did the ketogenic diet. That was the most recent. Before I went to a Joe Dispenza conference, I thought the ketogenic diet was the holy grail of conquering mental illness. Yeah. I thought reading books. I thought just abstinence, you know, being preserving your sexual energy, which is powerful. I thought I was looking for all of the secrets.
Yeah.
And then when I listened to Dr. Joe for the first time, I was like, he put all of this into one. Everything that I've been trying to learn for the past 4 or 5 years, he has a model of understanding. And the minute I saw him, I was, I'd say in a tough point in my business. I was, again, I thought I found the answer with the ketogenic diet, but I was still feeling sad and depressed and like whatever, all these different things. And I had everything I could ask. I had my Mercedes, I had a house, I had money in my bank account, and I still didn't feel fulfilled. I still feel like I wasn't reaching my full potential. And I listened to him speak, and halfway through a walk, I just put on his podcast. I looked him up on Google and I booked a retreat right away. And I went, like, I didn't even finish the podcast. I just went. And then when I went, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother.
That's amazing. Something that you touched on, which is when you're in a completely cohesive bad place, mental, physical, spiritual, you're just resonating at a low frequency.
Yeah.
You have to find one of the three to tune into the higher frequency so they can affect the other ones, right? Like whether you tune your body, going to the gym, like an instrument, you got to tune it so you can actually play the song. Otherwise, people got to listen to you and be like, what the fuck kind of song is that? That sucks, right? Even you hear your own song and you go like, who wants to listen to this?
Yeah.
But whether you tune your body like you did, or you tune your mind by listening to Joe Dispenza, or your spirit by connecting with the source or allowing the source to bring its tuning fork into your soul so that it can align. They all resonate with each other, and because they're all connected, they bring each other out. One thing that I've noticed is the octaves in which the body, the soul, and the mind resonate. They're octaves of each other. If you focus too much on one, you might be losing time by allowing the other ones to just catch up. You have to have this balancing act. But one of the things that Joe Dispenza does, and he's a master at this, is just he's figured it out. He's figured out how it all works together cohesively, and figure out what are the steps that you have to take to start bringing it all back into the frequency that you do want.
Yeah.
Do you think that you've always had something pulling you out of your dips, like whenever your frequency is kind of, or you've allowed it to get to a low place, you think that there's something else the source trying to bring you back up, or is it always kind of something that you create yourself?
That's a great question. There's always a guiding light. I call it our intuition, right? You could call it God, you could call it the quantum field, whatever it is. Something is always drawing us towards wholeness, towards creation, towards divinity, I'd say. And if we can separate from the programs in our body and mind and just really become as whole as possible, or just disconnect from our three-dimensional reality, and you listen to that just field or God, you could say, or whatever belief you want to have about it, yes, it'll speak to you, and your heart speaks to you as well. But yeah, there's always, I think you're explaining intuition. Something is always telling you that's right, that's wrong. And some people have just suppressed it so long and so much where unconsciously now they're just run by the programs, and that's most of Western America. And then some people have that like just little thing like there's more. You're asking that question, there's more to life than just this. There's more than just video games and pizza and, you know, the cell phone. There's more. Even when people get super wealthy, there's more, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. You got to listen to that intuition because it's never gonna guide you wrong.
I mean, there was a moment there that you said that you kind of had that moment where your life, in essence, kind of flashed before your eyes. Yeah. I think that everybody, if you're over 30 years of age, at some point you've had that moment. But there's a lot of people who have that moment and they still choose the easier path, which is not changing anything.
Yeah.
And so what would you say for somebody who is struggling to make that change, that they know they need to change? They're getting the signals. Their intuition's telling them, because you know it's telling them.
Yeah.
They know it's telling them, but they just don't have the mental fortitude or the strength in their mind to actually make that change.
The feeling of regret is strong, right? You don't want to live in quiet desperation, right? Because there's going to come a time and point where you're going to come to that realization, whether it's when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or it's on your deathbed before you pass away. The sooner the better, I'd say, you know, because living in that mode of quiet desperation, you know, that's more suffering than the pain of just taking actions and disciplines that are going to help you grow. So there's a savvier answer, but that's all I got for you.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Dickens process?
No.
Oh man. Have you been to a Tony Robbins event?
No.
You haven't been to a Tony
No,
Robbins
I
event?
haven't.
Oh, that's crazy to me. Considering knowing who your parents are,
Yeah.
I would imagine that you would have went to one of those events. But there's if you go to Unleash the Power Within, which is like kind of the I want to call it the elementary, but it's the first event you should go to for Tony Robbins.
It's like an introductory into the world of Robbins.
Yeah. Day one, you walk on fire.
Yeah.
All right. For context, into introductory level,
Literally.
walk on fire. But at the end of that day, it's a 4-day event. I'm sorry. At the end of the third day, it's called Transformation. And in that day, that Transformation Day, he takes everybody through almost a meditation. And now it's formally recognized as what's called the Dickens process, which he allows people to kind of go through a meditation and envision their life if they don't change anything. And then
Wow.
he's like, okay, well, what happens if nothing changes? Like, what happens if you stay exactly where you are 1 year from now? And, you know, you start feeling these emotions. You start getting upset, like, no, fuck that. Like, absolutely not. Like, that's not going to happen. It's like, okay, well, what about 5 years from now? Like, well, I'm going to change it. That's not going to happen. It's like, okay, but what if nothing actually changes? And face the reality of, like, there is a world where you don't change this. What happens? And then 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, on your deathbed, what happens, right? And I remember I was going through it, and I went with it, actually, the first event I went to, I was next to Gil. Gil was to my left. And I remember I was sitting there, and there was a guy behind me, and he was going through it. This guy had some demons. He was sitting there, and he's like 5 years, and everybody's just thinking, and it's like, man, I'm feeling emotions. I hear this guy behind me. He's like, no, fuck that. And he's like starting to scream, and I'm like, I can't even focus because like, what is going on? I turn around and look at this guy, and there's like 10,000 people in this room. He starts grabbing the chair in front of him and smacking his head on the chair. Like, he had demons. And I remember the staff comes over and like helps him out. And I was like, holy shit, like that was crazy. It interrupted my experience, and my experience was fairly intense. Nothing like this guy. And then come to find out he was suicidal. 9 months later, we go to this event, Date with Destiny, and he built a business from nothing. He didn't have a business in March when we were at Unleash the Power Within. In December, December 6th, I believe the event was, he had a business that was earning 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to one thing, a decision, like you alluded to. But there's people who also choose they decide to go in the other direction.
Yeah. And I think people like you, like us, you know, if you can find time to be around anybody who's maybe playing that tug of war, like, hey, destiny's calling you one way, your programs are calling you the other. Like, just when you're in the presence of people who have overcame themselves, it unconsciously allows you to do the same because they've done it. Now, it makes a lot of times people are uncomfortable whenever you or other people like who are maybe at that tug and war place, they'll come into your presence and then they'll be really uncomfortable because it's like, okay, you're almost looking right through me, right? But you can unconsciously give that person, you know, the okay to be more than just the programs they've been run by their whole lives. But that's what those events are beautiful, man. Like, and it's great. That's great that you got to see somebody just change their life. Like, you saw their reset date. You saw day one. That's sweet. That's a cool moment, man.
Yeah, beautiful thing for sure.
In terms of what's next for you, right? Like, you've had this growth in YouTube, in social media, in your business, and now you've kind of stepped fully into it with an entire team that's surrounded the goal, right? The mission for you. What's next for you in terms of what you want to do with the next 5 years of your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think 5 years, I might think something, but it'll be completely different. But I'd say for right now, what we're focused on is I want to help the people on the team, you know, unlock their highest powers, right? That's the biggest thing. The people on the team right now, they're going to overcome themselves. And if they don't, they typically trickle away from the team naturally, organically. But if they do overcome themselves, they follow the pack. And that's what's so special about our team. I'm taking a lot of the principles I've learned from Joe Dispenza's work and everything I've learned in life to bring it into the team to help other people overcome themselves and shine in their brightest light. But another big thing is I want to go to as many of Joe Dispenza's events because he teaches you how to manifest, how to create from the fifth dimension rather than the third dimension. Rather than matter to matter, we can change our internal states and biologically, neurologically change our bodies to make it feel like the experience has already happened. And then watch out, that's when it comes, when you least expect it, the unknown. So I want to learn about the body. That's one of my biggest things now because the more knowledge I have about the body, how I can signal new genes ahead of the environment, how we can essentially just learn more about the brain, the body, the limbic system. I really am interested in learning about the body so I can enhance my experience in meditations and ultimately manifest more things that are going to align with my future.
What books would you recommend by Joe Dispenza? Like, obviously, you're going to say all of them.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's the 101. The 101. He has a progressive workshop on his website that's like $350. Like, I'm going to every single event that I possibly can. They're a week. They're expensive. You got to take time out of your business, but I've never had a moment where the return on investment isn't significant. So like, I'm gonna go to 2 in August if you want to go.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I think I have a. Oh, are you going to the Build a C event?
No, I'm going to a Joe event.
Does it conflict?
It does. Yeah. They asked me to speak in Build at Sea, but I told them I booked it well in advance, so I kind of had to go. So that's in the foreseeable future. I'm just doubling down because I know this is a path. If I do this for a year, 2 years straight, the progress will be significant. Yeah.
I don't want to throw too much of like influence in like what the path that's opening up before you is. But one thing that I have noticed when every single person starts to realize the voice inside of them, who they actually are, and they stop believing who they thought they were. That's the dichotomy, the duality of existence.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them ends in India. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
They go to the source physically, where most people have really suckled from the teat of of the nectar of the gods. And that typically looks like almost like leaving everything behind, right? Everything that you thought you cared about, so that you can actually follow what you know is important.
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of your future at some point?
I think I'm getting closer and closer. I've met a lot of people who've taught me things I had no idea about. You could call this spiritual work, right? But before, I was never interested in spiritual work because I see the hippie girl in a van and talking about her chakras and this and that. And I wasn't interested in the culture aspect. But he started talking about the science, and he shows you the proof, and he shows you the science of how it's changing, and he shows you the science of your pineal gland and how you can create mystical experience through vivid imagery and like have all these experiences. And I think so. Maybe that is the path, because the more whole I become, the less I want in life. So maybe that is a path. But I know a big path is also helping others understand, because they're people I wish were talking to me when I was in that moment, and I know I can help a ton of people. So I think, yeah, it's there, but I'm not going to go sit in a cave and meditate. It would be nice, just meditate all day and just sit in a cave, but I think I have a lot of people that I can help in this world. Yeah.
So you
and I'm still early on.
The 5 years, your 5-year plan, one thing is certain, is that you are going to help the people on your team. Kind of, I think you said, find their power.
Yeah.
Something of the sort. What does that process look like? Because I'm curious, like leadership is like probably the hardest thing in the world. And I think there's so many things that fall into leadership, parenthood, all of that stuff, business, obviously. What does that look like to helping people to discover their power? Because maybe they don't even know what their superpower is.
Yeah.
And then how do you help them kind of hone it to improve upon it?
Yeah. I'd say the first thing, when people join our teams specifically, there is a culture shift. A lot of people come from sales or come from this or come from that, but there is a culture shift, and there are unconscious things that pop out of them, that makes them uncomfortable when they come into our culture and realize what we're doing. But I'd say the biggest thing, one, I got to lead by example. I have to be living the truth that I'm speaking. Next, accountability, right? I can't force this type of work on anybody, but I'm going to live the truth, and then they ask me and they want to know more and more and more. And then naturally I can spread it out to the people who are interested. I want to go do like 2-day retreats with my team for the people who want to, right? And then teach more information, and do meditation work. But they've become very interested because a lot of them have been with me since I went to that first event, and I'm nowhere near the same person that I was then. And they see the changes, so they're okay. So I'd say the biggest thing is accountability. I don't have like a training course just yet on like this type of work. I'm kind of waiting. Dr. Joe actually, he tells coaches, don't teach it. Keep it as pure as possible. If you do want to teach it, join the NeuroChange Solutions that you can teach corporate businesses. And I signed up for it, and I want to do that registration before I really go balls to the wall. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing right now is just the culture, the energy in our culture, a sense of accountability when people are being run by their programs, and also just making sure they're taking actions aligned with what they told me their goals are. Yeah.
I love that. Who's the latest person that you've seen that spark ignite within them, and how you've actually noticed a change in whether it's their work ethic or their accountability?
Man,
who's the latest one in your team?
We got a couple. We got a few. I'd say I'll give them all a little bit. I'd say that one of them is Ramses Mizel. He came on the team. When he first joined the team, it was maybe a culture shock. He was getting adapted, but now he's like way happier, way more energetic. And now he's closing 2-3 deals a month, putting in contracts left and right. And he's probably one of them. Another one is my sister-in-law who joined the team. Her name's Nicole. She's just completely changing the way she thinks and the way she treats people and the way that she's doing her business. Roger Brito, he probably has one of the coolest stories. Like, you could get him on here as well. If you guys speak Spanish, you can get him on here. But he was one of the first agents with me, and you know, within his first year, made 6 figures and bought a house, had a kid, bought a car. You know, did all these changes. I have a new agent that started this year. Her name's Shivani, and oh my goodness, she's incredible. She pushes my buttons a little bit, but she's like, Renzo, you got to go vegan. You're doing all this, and I'm like, what? Like, chill out, you know, like chill. But like she understands, and she's from India, so she's like, okay, Renzo, I see the work you're doing. You need to go to India. You need to become a vegetarian and do all these things. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not, you know. But she came on the team, and in 4 months she's closing like an incredible amount of deals, and she's a go-getter. And we just got 2 new agents, Andrew and Sal, and they're doing great. And we got Wilfredo, who's doing great. Karen's doing amazing. She always has like 2 kids with her, you know. So but yeah, everybody's doing amazing. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of winning.
Yeah.
Winning begets winning.
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
A lot of gratitude, I bet.
Yeah. Honestly, because that's, to be honest, at first, starting a real estate team, I have too many. I'd say the main thing is I have too many leads. I want to make more money, work less. But now the big picture is, okay, why am I thinking so small? Why can't we grow a team where everybody's winning significantly, and we have a culture where we're not just growing financially, but also spiritually, mentally, physically, in whatever way. We're teaching principles in life, not just financial literacy. And, you know, I think I've gotten so much feedback from top leaders, like, okay, you're going to help someone grow to a certain point and they're going to leave. And I'm like, maybe so, but that's fine. You know, it's going to be a culture that we're going to create, that you're going to want to be a part of this culture, and an extra 10% split won't make a difference. The culture is going to have way more value than what the splits are, right? So that's the goal. We're going to have I'd say within a year, we're going to have a team full of just absolute mega rock stars. Yeah, that's the goal. That's what we're doing.
Love it, man. You know, obviously this show wouldn't be about independent thinking if we didn't have the capacity to change our perspective, to change our views. So you gave us a little bit of insight into some things that maybe you believed 5 years ago. But what is something that you absolutely believed to be true 5 years ago that today you don't believe to be true?
I'd say the biggest thing is like, you don't have to be a victim to your past. You are a creator of your life. Your personality is going to create your personal reality, not the other way around. Don't wait for things outside of you to change the way you feel inside. Don't wait for, you know, a deal to come for you to feel abundant. You should feel abundant, and then more deals than you can even think about will come. So I just say, be the creator, not the victim of your life. That's the biggest thing.
And 5 years ago, you believed that you didn't have that choice.
I was a victim. I wanted people to feel sorry for me. I walked around hoping someone would say, are you okay? Yeah. I'd say, don't be a victim, be a creator.
That's amazing, Renzo. Well, listen, if you're watching this and you got some value from it, subscribe, hit that bell notification. We got these coming every single day. And if you know somebody that can benefit from listening to this, send it to them as well. Leave a comment on what are the things that you kind of want to get into, or things that you are interested in for us to cover. Renzo, again, where can people find you, follow you, and get all that good stuff?
If they want to see home tours, you can go on YouTube. It's just my first and last name, Renzo Montaiuti. And then on Instagram, it's Renzo Montaiuti -realtor. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you again for your time, man.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
See you guys soon.